Welcome to Built with Purpose. I am Chris Fay, and this is the show where vision meets execution and leadership leaves a legacy. From design studios to innovation hubs and product lines to skylines, we meet the people building more than great companies. They're creating culture, driving impact, and shaping what's next. These are the stories and strategies behind how the world gets built with purpose. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Built with Purpose. I'm your host, Chris Fay. I'm fired up to have my man, Patrick Murphy, here today. Patrick and I actually met maybe a few months ago, but Patrick is the founder and CEO of Toggle AI. They are a fast-growing construction tech company using AI in the estimating space. Interesting enough, and I'm excited to dive into this, before Patrick started Toggle, he was heavily involved in a family construction business called Coastal Construction in Florida, one, I believe, maybe the largest construction company in Florida. And then prior to that, actually served as a U.S. congressman representing Florida. So we've got some cool government expertise into, AEC construction expertise into AI and tech. And Patrick, I know you're involved in a ton of other stuff as well, my man. So thanks for taking some time to hop on the show today.
No, thank you. I'm a glutton for punishment between construction and government. Like, I don't know what's more inefficient.
Yeah. I sense you don't get bored easily. That's my sense of you already.
Just like beat my head against the wall,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so we'll hop around a little bit today, but general icebreaker for you real quick, just to get you going since you're an AI guy. What is the last thing that you asked ChatGPT?
I was meeting someone over the weekend, and I wanted to get to know them a bit, and they're sort of a high-profile person. So I asked GPT for a summary. I asked it to read all their podcasts, listen to the podcasts, go to all the interviews, give me a summary. I had some specific questions I asked around the, reason for the meeting and new context, right? Because obviously GPT gets to know you and the individual. So it had context of the business I was talking about, and asked it, what are the top 5 questions you were asked if you were looking for this outcome, right? So it put together a great summary. And then what I really liked was the links that were there where I could go then listen to the podcast, find an article, find some key pieces to really go a bit deeper. So yeah, that was my last use case.
So I got to ask, are you a ChatGPT guy, or are you a Claude or Anthropic? What's your one of choice?
Gemini and Notebook LM. I love that tool. That's fun. And GPT. I've experimented with some of the others, but I've just, for whatever reason, fallen into those two.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, do me a favor for the listeners, man. You've got a really interesting background and kind of where you are today. Give us like the 30,000 foot view, man. Like this government congressman into construction, family business, into like fast growing AI tech, and give us the overview first.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, real quick, my grandfather was in the 101st Airborne. So wasn't afraid of heights. After the war, came back and started painting. And he was painting radio towers, heard about a job opportunity in the Florida Keys, drove down, fell in love with Key West. This is in the 1950s, moved the family down, right? So 1950s, Key West. He was a painter. And my dad, of course, was surrounded by the trades. He was a union carpenter. Dad started rebuilding his frat house in college, made like 10 grand. It was like, I'm rich. So he dropped out. He's like, I don't need to go to college anymore.
10 grand's all I need. That's how I can get started now, right?
Yeah. So again, like started at the bottom, worked his way up. And so that's been sort of the, an important part of our family is everyone starts at the bottom. So, as I got into high school and all, started working in the field as a day laborer, sort of worked my way up, worked in estimating, worked in accounting, sort of all aspects of the construction business. And then decided to kind of do my own thing for a bit. So got my CPA license, worked at Deloitte, did public accounting, and then got into politics. Long story, happy to get into it, but basically was tired of complaining, right? I was pointing a finger, complaining when my best friend said, who the hell are you? Do something about it. I was like, all right, you kind of put the gauntlet down, now I better do something. And it was a great experience. Not what I expected. I was 28 years old. I was naive, right? I was thinking it was all about, saving the world and policy and issues and debate. And so much of politics today is just about getting reelected. And people will do whatever it takes to get reelected. And that was very discouraging to me. So anyway, I was at the time the youngest member and spent a lot of time thinking about the future of work. My thought was really around, like with AI and the sharing economy and crypto, like we're in the middle of a technical revolution happening we as a country need to start preparing for the jobs of tomorrow. What should the government be doing to do that? Education, right? Everything needs to really adapt quickly, in my opinion, because there's going to be dislocation. So anyway, I got super entrenched in tech and meeting with some just unbelievable people because the access you have is, as a member of Congress. And anyway, rejoined the family business, and we've been blessed to be in a great market in Florida, and business has now grown to become the largest general contractor in Florida. A lot of high-rise, multifamily, commercial, hospitality type stuff. And I had, I guess, the luxury of a fresh set of eyes now looking at this business that I'd been sort of removed from for some time and realizing nothing had changed, right, Chris? I'm sure like a lot of construction companies, if they have, as they grow, it's a lot of the same processes and procedures, and it's a very antiquated industry. So I was kind of thinking, God, how do we improve? Like, what should we do? So my first thought, go to the financials, right? So went to our financials and saw the biggest piece of overhead was the estimating department. And I realized that about 50 to 60% of our team's time was doing takeoffs, basically coloring for a living, right? Doing
counting and coloring, right?
I'm like, wait, these are folks making, good money. A lot of them are engineers, and their real value is the value engineering, is the scoping and the bid leveling, and going to a client and telling them, hey, we found a way to save you 5% by doing, X, Y, and Z. Not coloring and telling them how many toilets they got in the job, but you have to do it. So that's when sort of the light bulb went off. Wow, if a human can look at the plans and see, the different rooms and material types, so can a computer. You just have to train the model. And that's when we realized there's no one doing this. We said, holy cow. Filed for some IP, got some patents, started a business, basically spent 3 years aggregating plans, labeling them, building our own proprietary AI algorithms and machine vision models, and then went to market 2.5 or so years ago. So yeah, it's been a really cool, fun journey.
So it's really over 5 years since you kind of had this idea and this inception.
Started in 2019. Yep.
Wow. Congrats, man. That's
flies by.
Yeah, gosh. So there's so many questions kind of in and around that. And I was thinking about the the government space. I've got some good friends that are in government as well, and they had these like massive ambitions of getting in and making change, and they found this very same thing. It's just that going in, it's about playing the politics and trying to get reelected, as opposed to actually getting in and driving change. And there's some frustration on their end. So it's interesting to hear you. Interesting to hear you say that. It's kind of one of the things, I used to want to get into politics, and then I was just like, man, I want to go spend time like helping and actually getting stuff done, as opposed to these other things. So yeah, super interesting. Yeah. And obviously Coastal got a great background history. So one question, I guess, just kind of off the bat is, so 5 years ago, kind of the very early levels, we start talking about AI and all the changes that have occurred over the past really year or two. Like how has your development of the product like then versus where you are now changed? Are your models changing? Are your AI tool sets changing, or is it just making it faster? Like, help me understand like how that's changed, because you were early kind of in this AI automation space, and now you've got some pretty amazing tools that can help accelerate that. So how's that changed?
Yeah, great question. A lot to unpack there. So the models continue to improve, and the large language models that are out there, we never had the luxury of being able to use. So that wasn't even like a question, right? Because it was 2019 when we started. GPT, none of that stuff was public. So all of our models are proprietary. And interestingly enough, the LLMs that are out there don't do well with the intricacy and nuance that's on construction plans. They can pick up the words well and some of the text, but they don't deal with the clutter really well on construction plans. So thankfully, our proprietary models that we built early on and the data set that we used is still, we believe, very valuable in order to get us to that accuracy that our customers need. Now, those proprietary models, of course, we are, yes, to your point, improving them, tweaking them. The more use cases we have, the more data we have, it gets that much better. Getting to, 80% is one thing, then getting to 95% is one thing. Once you get to 97, 98%, those last couple points are really tough, right? Then you're talking about orders of magnitude of data. You're talking millions of plans needed to make a difference. So a lot of data really that's helped us now, that flywheel. The more customers we have, the more accurate, the more customers we get, right? Like it really helps that generation. And you start to see more one-off unique cases. For example, a photocopy of a set of plans can be challenging for AI because there's a lot of clutter and noise on those plans. as we've seen more of those, we've gotten better at that. If you draw on the back of a napkin, Chris, a house, whatever, give us a scale, we'll give you the takeoff now on that napkin. It doesn't have to be like a pretty PDF or something, construction documents.
So just the ability to get like more granular into less perfect renderings or less perfect plans.
Yes.
Has improved. Got it. Okay.
That's improved. The other thing we've really started to focus on is going deeper and deeper into the takeoff, where now we're starting to automate more of the assemblies. So we're not just going to tell you, how much drywall is behind my head, for example. We're going to tell you the assembly that built that wall. And whether it's on the plans or not, now that we have I'm just using a simple example, 50,000 homes built in, Los Angeles in the last year, you have a pretty good idea of what the wall assembly is going to be, right? What kind of drywall, what kind of studs, the top track, the bottom track, the screws, whatever it took to build that wall. So we're starting to predict. Now the user can change it and manually, put their own in, but we will give them an idea of what we think the wall is going to be, and or if the architect has already outlined that wall assembly in this example, then we'll take that automatically and overlay it across those designated walls. So that's one example. Building out those assemblies, again, with the click of a button from your PDF, now you know exactly how much wall type 1 there is, how many screws, board, and now you've got those bill of goods to go get a quote.
Gotcha. And so what was the first, like you have this idea, you see all these folks at Coastal, half their time being spent, coloring and taking off. Like, what was the first use case? You're like, hey, I'm going to attack this. And I'm assuming Coastal was probably one of your first customers. You probably took it to these estimating departments. It was like, hey, kind of test this out. But what was that like first problem that you saw or that you tried to solve, I guess?
The first problem, the core problem, was taking 2 weeks, 2 days of work, compressing it to seconds. Right, just automating that workflow.
But it was like square footage. Like it was like, hey, we're going to try and do floor square footage or concrete cubic yards or sheetrock and paint.
I guess the basics of net area, gross area, linear takeoffs, objects. Those were sort of the basics that we knew we needed, at least for like a conceptual that we'd have to get. Knowing, of course, you're going to have to get deeper and deeper, but that was the basic model. An interesting thing here too, like a really big learning we had was early on naively thinking that the users were just going to like click a button, get their takeoff and be okay with it. What people really need, especially in our industry, is the ability to do it themselves. And having those manual takeoff tools that they've been using for 20 years or whatever. Now we've re-engineered, done it, we think, in a better, cleaner, simpler way, just 25 years, newer technology and faster and all that. So they can do everything they can do on, say, a Bluebeam or OnScreen or PlanSwift or whatever, all those manual tools we have, plus the AI to layer in on top. Once we had that realization, that was a game changer for us.
Yeah, that they're not ready to abandon completely their old tools, but it's really just an additional kind of enhancement to the existing tools that they're already using.
Exactly. It's a co-pilot, not an autopilot, right?
Co-pilot, not autopilot. Yeah. Okay. Super interesting. What kind of going back to like starting, I just think about, because I mean, being in the kind of a SaaS entrepreneur and being in the space and similar, but different, I'm involved in a legacy business that was my father-in-law's and he founded in 73. And I've, founded this like SaaS startup company. And so you and I have some kind of lineage of, you're in this like fast-paced environment, but you're part of this legacy business. Like what's that been like for you? I mean, obviously you're spending probably more of your time on the Toggle side, but still involved in Coastal. Is it, kind of that pull between this like hyper fast growth and this kind of legacy and this company that your grandfather built?
So lucky, Chris, that have a family, construction business, and my dad, who, really started the business, has told myself and brothers, hey guys, no pressure into the family business. What if you want to be an astronaut or a doctor or a garbage man? Like, just be the best at it. Just work your ass off, right? And I'll support you and help you be the best at it. Give you those tools to be the best. Just work hard. Be honest in whatever you're doing, and have a good attitude, right? I always, keep a smile on your face. So there was no pressure to come to the business necessarily. Now, of course, my dad said I'd be more proud than ever if you did come to the business, but don't.
Would love to work with you, but
right. But so that was cool to have that. Flexibility from your dad to be able to do that, which probably enabled me to be able to run for Congress, quite frankly. And then to come back to the business and not feel pressured to fit into a certain mold within the business. My brothers are 13, 14 years older than me, co-presidents of the business, running day-to-day operations, pre-con, legal, et cetera. So it was lucky in a sense that there was this natural opportunity to now start diversifying our own business, looking for ways to improve it and hopefully drive better margins. But beyond our own business now, improve the industry. Right, we have a shortage of people that want to get into the industry right now. Not even get into the politics and immigration and everything else we have going on in our country right now. But they say as of today, 400,000 job openings in the U.S. in construction. Like, we have to make this a more, I think, interesting job for people, which means more technology, because that's what the younger generation's into. And I can definitely see a world where there are going to be more robotics and drones and more AI and more tech being used. But you need boots on the ground, and you're going to need people. And the mechanics and the electricians and the plumbers, I think, are going to continue to garner a really good price for their work, because they're hard to find, those skilled trades. And so enabling them with tech so they can do more with less, I think is important.
So kind of talking about that with the construction industry, because we've heard that a lot, that just in general, the number of people that are coming into this industry are not keeping up with the demand that's out there, right? And then how do you make this where you can actually look at a job in construction and see, man, there's this amazing career that's potentially ahead of there. What do you see as like some of the barriers? Is it educating, younger folks on what the opportunity looks like? Is it, to your point, is it modernizing the business so that younger folks look and can see all like the technical tools? Is it, what do you think is keeping people from entering the workforce?
I think there's a stereotype around it that will take time to get shaken off. I think sort of supply demand will be ultimately what helps us recruit more, where there is limited supply and high demand, and there's a housing crisis in our country. Right, there's still plenty of demand for affordable housing, right, in most areas, but a lack of real skilled labor. As those prices go up with that supply demand curve, I think people are saying, "Wow, wait a minute, I can make how many hundreds of thousands a year by doing this and don't have a college degree?" That's pretty interesting. I think there will be some government policies and some recent legislation I've seen. Some of the Pell Grants that would traditionally go to a 2 or 4 year degree or whatever are now being offered for the trade schools. I think that's important, where now there are learning opportunities, there's grants, there's help to go get that real skilled degree. As unions have sort of shrunk in size and across the country, there's less of the apprenticeship programs. I think that will start coming back. I think there'll be more of that model where you're learning, making some money, learning on the job, and growing. But in that third piece is what you just said, Chris. It is the tech, where you've got a young man or woman who is maybe used to working on a computer in school or video games or whatever they're used to, and now there are some skills from there that are actually relatable to what they're doing in a career. And seeing it as a sexier job, that, wow, I get to work with computers and AI and drones and robots on a job, and I'm not sweating my ass off in these terrible conditions that are not safe. And, I don't think, by and large, going to be the future in 10 years from now, construction. I think it's going to be a very different world. With a lot of new tools for us all, which I think ultimately makes it more efficient, more affordable, and safer for people.
Yeah, 100%. No, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, man. I think there's, accessing people in the trades, getting them trained up out the door. Because I think one of the things from my experience in construction, and it was 15 years ago, almost 16 years ago, I was in construction, but it was so gratifying for me to take place in, whatever my role was as a project manager, business development, whatever my role was at the time. But it was so gratifying to see my labor actually producing a physical something, right, that's going to be there for a significant period of time. There's still buildings that I was involved in and, local where I live, and I still go by them. And there's a sense of pride that you have. There's not a lot of industries out there that you can actually have this like tangible asset that all these people are going to use and experience. And you can bring your kids by and show it to them. And so, I think there's definitely got to be some level of perception shift as well. And I think the other thing is just going through like running construction projects for me was some of the best experience in running a company. I mean, I think about some of the skill sets that I have today and, project management and finance and communication. I mean, all that was built from the construction industry. So to some extent, there's probably just some education and perception building that could be changed as well.
Great point. There's so much to learn on a construction site, people management, the speed, right? The job never stops. The legacy component that you pointed to, the different types and skills you're doing, from the architects and the engineers to the owners to the vendors and the trade partners to your own team, right? There's just so many levels. It really runs the spectrum. Bankers are involved often, right? Like at finance people. So you're dealing with a lot of personalities, and it's a very high pressure environment that, of course, there's other industries that have it, but construction is definitely unique in that way. And it never sleeps, right? You're always going, it's always moving. So I think there's a lot to be said for those skills that could be applicable, like you said, to other industries, which I've never really thought of it that way. It's a great point, though.
So on the Toggle side, I mean, obviously, you think about the complexities of construction and everything that you've been like. What's been the hardest thing that you've experienced? I mean, you founded this company, you're the CEO of this company, you're scaling it, like you've built this multi-million-dollar a year business that's solving problems. So like, what's been the hardest thing that you've had to deal with as a CEO or a founder in Toggle?
It's constant learning. It's like we were just talking about the challenges in construction, what you're dealing with. Starting a tech business is, like any other business, but it's even faster moving, especially in the world of AI. And you wake up in the middle of the night with a pit in your stomach because of some new AI release and wondering, is there a kid in a garage somewhere that's building some new model that's like, and a click of a button is going to be, put you out of business or something. It's hyper growth. You're hiring, in our company, whatever, we're hiring 20 plus people this year. Next year, going to be probably more than that. So, you're scaling quickly, going from an idea to, hopefully a functioning business. And Chris, it's crazy how similar a startup is to politics, which I never would have connected these dots. But, when you're running for office or you're starting a business, either way, you have an idea, you have a vision, you have something you're passionate about, right? Now you got to go get people to work with you and help you out. You got to start to build that team. There's not a lot of money to go around, right? Your people are kind of working on the dream of it, right? And both a campaign and a startup. You got to go raise money and, either campaign donations or VC money or, family, friends money. So you're raising money all the time. And you end up having to sort of constantly be selling this business and the idea and start to rely on your team more for a lot of the messaging and what's really happening, because you're out trying to get the next investor. You're out trying to, get those donations to keep that machine going. So in politics, I thought I would be spending all my time on policy and debate. Instead, I was fundraising. Same thing with Toggle. I thought I'd be digging into the weeds of how to build this, but I couldn't. I had to go raise money, have to grow the team, have to interview people, right? So that's been interesting. And then I always, sort of joke that the primary election is kind of like your MVP product. You think what the people are going to do and how they're going to act. You're polling, but you don't really know till you do it, right? And then you see, you're like, ooh, that was I messed that up, right? I better change. And then you have you go to markets like the general election and let's see what happens. You don't really know till the fat lady sings. And we're going to see. So definitely a lot of parallels from politics to a startup. I know it wasn't an exact question, but it's interesting.
Yeah, no, it's what a cool story though. Because you think about it, I kind of the same thing. Part of our jobs as CEOs and founders is to spread the word, tell the message and inspire the team. And oftentimes we can see it so much more clearly than those people that we're talking to, whether it be our employees, our customers, or, to your point, the people that are going to be investing in your business. And so because you see it so clearly, and I think, in the past, I've fallen down on assuming my team knew what was going on and where we were heading. But then ultimately realizing it's a constant communication, just constantly reinforcing and constantly building. And we're heading in the right direction. This is what we see. And these are the changes. And this is why we're doing these things. And, just that constant delivery of the message to keep the team really accelerated and motivated and excited about where we're going. And, to your point, it's constantly changing as well. But what a cool simile you talk about.
And I don't know about you, but we're fully remote, right? We started in 2019, building, then COVID hit. So the only option we had, of course, was to be remote. And now next thing you know, we've got however many dozens of people scattered around the world because that's how we were able to hire. And now it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle, right? Once you're used to that and you've got access to global talent, not just sort of in your backyard. pros and cons, right, to being remote versus not. But to keep that connection that you were just talking about is so hard. So we do executive calls weekly, Zoom. Each of our team leads, head of finance or whatever of sales, will do meetings with their teams. And then we'll do a monthly meeting. It's quick, 30, 45 minutes. And, try to give 10 minutes of overview. Here's what's going on. Here's why, like to your point, why this partnership matters, why this new vertical matters. Here's what we're doing. Here's a big problem we have or needs to be fixed, priority. And then we'll try to have a team member kind of present like, hey, head of sales, you have 15 minutes to the floor, go talk about what's on your mind, right? And try to grow some other leaders in the business and get them that presence speaking, even though it's on a Zoom, but now you're talking in front of 40, 50, whatever people and helping to grow the business and getting kind of all aspects of the team get involved in those conversations. So important.
Well, I just think people, honestly, good people want to be a part of something special. They want to feel like they're contributing to something, and knowing where they're going and why they're going that direction, and then celebrating the successes. I mean, it's so important. And that was my last podcast that I did. We were talking very heavily about culture and this multi-billion-dollar business, and it ultimately came down to they had a vision and a very clear purpose of why they existed. And they did everything they could to just continue to communicate that and tell that story out to everyone so that they would follow it, and then you get really good people, that are able to pick it up. And to your point, as a CEO, and a founder, like you want to be more in the weeds, you want to be impacting the product, you want to go meet with more and more customers, but you just can't, you have to rely so heavily on these, these leaders and other people in your business to carry the torch and in every aspect of the business. So it's tough, but important.
I was with a successful founder recently that told me the more that he focused his revenue focus, that TAM that he was going after, the more his company grew. That's sort of counterintuitive. You think, I'm going to go sell to the whole United States, this whole product. It was opposite. He took a very narrow view of who he could sell to. And when he realized that focus was working, it caught on like wildfire, and he actually grew the business more. So a great lesson there. And you kind of just hinted at that.
Yeah, it's like the hedgehog.
So important to have that as a founder.
What was so like when you started, like what's worked for you? I know in this world, we all get so many emails and prospecting phone calls and the ad campaigns that are going across and like what's the best way that you found to connect with prospects? Like how do you find people that are interested in interested in Togle? Are they coming to you through more inbound? Are you getting yourself out there? Like what have you found that's really worked for you?
I'm not a marketing expert. Definitely another big lesson as a first-time founder. We were lucky enough to have good inbound. I think in part being to the sort of AI world early, especially in construction, had some good press around that because of my former life in politics. Got some press there. We won 4 or 5 different startup competitions, one in Dubai, one in Miami, with a couple thousand different entries. So that was really cool. That got us some great notoriety, some checks. Mr. Wonderful was like one of the judges on one of these.
Oh, how cool is that?
Got some cool press. So we were super lucky to get some really early momentum. That brought us some inbound. And we're like, this is great. Leads are coming in. I wish we would have started the outbound motion sooner, building that go-to-market machine, that cold email sequence, the advertising, the LinkedIn, all social media, like all the different channels that people know about, pulling all that together because there's really a lot to it. And you don't want to, there's a method, right, of how you contact Chris, how we're going to go target you, Chris, right? And is it an email first or a phone call? Is it an Instagram thing? And the sequence of those is important, like getting all that, and if you already told us no 3 times, and I don't want to keep advertising and emailing you, like that's stupid. So, like having that CRM as a well-oiled machine is important. I took that for granted. We've gotten much better at that. But I think all those channels matter. I don't know, that marketing, you're probably better at this than me, but I think they say it's like 7 or 8 touches to get, someone like really interested. So I think just continuing to be creative and hitting people in those channels. But one of the most important ways for us is in-person events. The trade events are great. They're not all created equal. Some the venue matters, the layout matters, the speaking opportunity matters, who else is there, like all those things matter. But we did 48 events last year. This year, I think we're going to do 55. Uh, and we're doing it because there's ROI at it. Right. And we have some
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah.
that are bought in, that love speaking, that are energetic. We don't just go to the booth and sit there. Like we're out there, right? We got a smile on our face. We're hustling. We're giving away things trying to create energy at those booths. And it's hard. It's hard work, right? You're on your feet all day. Like it's the same old messaging, but that's been impactful for us.
Yeah, it seems like the in-person events, I mean, they're there for a number of years, especially kind of during COVID. It almost seems like leading up to COVID, people were just getting tired of some of the in-person events. And then COVID hit and it just kind of killed it all. And then to some extent, I've seen over the last year or two, there's this desire of people to get back out and to mingle face-to-face and to listen to speakers and to go to events. And we've just seen like the attendance really begin to increase and improve. Yeah, it's something we're doing the exact same thing. We're looking at a number of key events this year just to try and be there. But it just seems like the customer base, vendors and everybody are really getting back out there.
Look, I think it's a human, sort of trait that we have to be in groups, to have our tribes, right? And to have that connection. And yeah, Zoom filled a void and it made some things more efficient. But I think we're reverting back to what nature, sort of made of us, right, is to be in these groups. And so I think there's always going to be a place for these conventions, no doubt. There's some that we do via Zoom, interestingly, though, that are effective. There's some like AGC, some trade events we'll do, and there'll be 30, 40 people on it. We get to present. Things like that are definitely effective too, but nothing beats in person.
Yeah, just being there. Yeah, shaking hands. I think also in the AEC space, it's a relational business. You know what I mean? I mean, we're in the CRM space, and there are people. It's driven by relationships with individuals and who you know, and repeat business and referrals from other people. And so, it makes perfect sense. Well, so kind of pivoting to the next step, Patrick. I mean, what? Like over the next 5 years, and you can answer this as it relates to where Toggle is going. I know you're also involved in some other companies. Love to just hear a little bit about those. But like, what do you see kind of over the next 5 years, kind of for your companies, and how is this whole AI? In your view, going to continue to play out? Is it going to destroy jobs? Is it going to create companies growing at a faster rate? I mean, what does the next kind of 5 years look like in kind of your space and this tech space and SaaS space?
I'm so excited about the future of technology, and I'll start high level because my dad always tells me, computers are going to kill the world. We're all going to be, it's the end of mankind, basically. And like, here's his son in like AI company, right?
He's like, you're killing it, son.
Basically. But, again, to that previous conversation we had, the world continues to evolve. The younger generation is going to want and need more technology, probably to be interested. And we need to be more efficient with what we do. And by the way, I think it's going to help drive better margins for contractors by using more technology. But I believe we're going to have a very different world. Of course, with AI. And, when you look back at various technologies, whether that was moving from horse and buggy to, motor vehicles, whether that was moving to ATMs, computers themselves, right? There's always been this fear that's going to take everyone's job and we're all just going to be, waiting on government handouts or something and be living in poverty. But when you look at it over, last, 50, 60 years ago, poverty levels around the world were like 50%. In the 80s, it got down to like 20, 30%. Today, poverty levels globally are like 12, 13%, right? So poverty continues to come down globally, despite all the new technology, right? All the new innovation. More people have entered the middle class around the world than, ever before, just in the last few years, right? So I believe rising tide lifts all boats. And it's not linear and it's not perfect. And yes, there are people that we need to help out more. And there are more training programs we need to do and help that we have to accommodate for a lot. But with that being said, I think AI is going to be the next big leap where now humans will be able to make more money because our salaries, anyone's salary is based on productivity, right? And technology, basically, by definition, is making us more productive. AI will make humans much more productive. The more productive we are, the higher our salaries are going to be because we're adding more value to the company we work with, right? And so I look at AI as a tool just like email was or computers or Microsoft Excel or whatever else that enabled us to do more and be more productive for that company and thus garner a higher salary. So I think we need to lean in on AI. I think everyone in the workforce needs to lean in and find how to use it for their job. Sign up for classes. There's like hundreds of free online classes of how to use AI in your job and adapt. Sign up for newsletters. Do whatever you can to learn how to use it in your own industry. If you're a leader in AI in your company, you're going to rise to the top very quickly, in my opinion. With construction specifically, I think in 5 years from now, Chris, if you want to build a new job, just say a new house or a new hotel, you're going to have a prompt and you're going to have 3 simple inputs. It's going to be the address. It's going to be the budget, right? It's going to be what you want to build and the style. And with those inputs, you're going to get a full set of working construction documents, not just a pretty picture and a facade or layout. You're going to get the MEPs and the structural plan ready to go. And since you gave it the address, it's going to know the density and the setback and whatever the local building code is. Right, you gave it a budget, so it's going to know the finishes. Is it a Ritz-Carlton or a, workforce housing? And you told it whatever. It's a 4-bedroom house and 3 bathrooms, right? And if you think about it, like once you have a layout that you like, where the bathrooms and the kitchen and the laundry room are. There's only a few different ways to run the plumbing and the vents, right? Like there's not an infinite amount of ways to do it. There's some standard operating procedures and a basic code you're going to follow. Same thing for electric and heat and AC and everything else, right? So all this stuff's been solved, right? There are millions of 4-bedroom houses out there in the world. We know those layouts. You get those MEP plans. AI is really good at taking millions of data points and learning from it and coming with the best of that and presenting it to you. So I'm excited, obviously a little scared about what that means for the industry because that disrupts architects, engineers, contractors, vendors, subs, right? The whole industry transforms when that happens. And it'll probably take longer than I think, granted. But I think directionally, that's where we're going. And part of the reason I'm confident is, number one, we've built a company called CodeComply.ai that's automating your fire life safety ADA compliance. Right. So upload a PDF, click of a button. Now all that fire life safety is done. So instead of the city of wherever you live taking 9 months to review those plans, they upload the PDF, click a button, and with a click of a button, they have green check marks or red X's to indicate a problem. Right. Just did all hundreds of tests automatically.
They used to take weeks and weeks, if not months, and tons of labor. Right.
You get comments, you got to fix it. It's just back and forth. Like that's silly.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. I think I go back to what you said originally when you were talking about kind of the story of what you saw at Coastal when you looked at your, this largest infrastructure of estimators, and like 50 to 60% of their time was spent doing these like mundane, ridiculous tasks, right? And really, these are smart, high-paid individuals that want to use their brain and want to solve problems. And so, man, I agree with you. I think it's going to move extremely fast and potentially even faster than we all think it's going to move. And it might catch a couple people off guard, right? And I think that's why your advice is so sound and making sure that you lean in and learn and how it can impact your job today and tomorrow. But over time, it's going to take all the crap, right, that people don't want to do, that's ripe with mistakes and takes lots of time, and automate that, hopefully, so they can enable humans to do more of what we do best, right? Networking and solving problems and being creative. And I listened to a pretty cool podcast the other day, and there were 2 kind of camps in the podcast. One was it's going to take all these jobs because so many companies are going to leverage AI to reduce their workforce. And the other guy is like, well, actually what you can do is you can actually grow your company at a more rapid rate, create more enterprise value and more profitability leveraging it. So companies are actually going to invest and grow at a faster rate as opposed to just go cut their people, right, and replace them with a computer. So he was very bullish on the industry growing at a much more rapid rate, more jobs being created, new industries that we don't even see yet, new products, new evolutions. There's so much new stuff that's coming around. So it's interesting, but there's just this like fear, I think, that we all have. And I had the same thing. It's like, man, are we going to get disrupted by somebody, some kid in a garage, like creating some AI thing? But I think that paranoia keeps us on our toes, though. You know what I mean?
We had a customer come to us, a painting company, and they've been using Bluebeam for 20 years or whatever. And they said, look, we want to grow our business 25%. In order for anyone to grow their business, they got to bid on more work. And they said, look, we just don't have the budget to go hire an estimator for 100 and some thousand a year. Just doesn't work right now. So we're going to give this AI thing a shot. But our goal is to grow by 25% this year. It came to Toggle. 40 days later, they'd grown their output by 215%.
Wow.
They would put that many more bids out, right? And obviously I'm biased toward our company, but the point is AI and technology is enabling those small, mid-sized companies, or big, whatever, but really the small and little that don't have the budget to go higher. Now use tech and now you grow your business 2x, 3x, 4x in 1 year. And so now the the stranglehold to grow isn't now estimating anymore and getting the estimators and getting bids out the door or getting prices. It's now the people in the field, right? That's someone else's problem to go solve, right? But now you can grow your business. So, to your point, technology helps you grow. That's the way to look at it. And another great analogy is looking at ATMs, right? When ATMs came out, all the bank tellers were up in arms saying, it's going to take my job. And what am I going to do? I'm not going to be. There's more bank tellers than ever now. Why? Because there's more branches than ever, because it can more afford, right? So now it's like abundance, right? So the more easily something is, the more of it there is. Jeevan's paradox, right? Like when you build an expressway, you add more lanes, rarely does it reduce traffic because now more people are going on that road because it's, theoretically going to be easier to travel on, right? Same idea. So anyway, I think that's what AI is going to do to our industry, is allow for more building, which to me is the cool part, because now we can build more efficiently and help more people live in a good quality home and put a roof over their home, something they're proud of, and build a good community, and use our creative minds to build a livable and sustainable, walkable community that's affordable, right? Not just some like cookie cutter project that like met a budget. Like we can do so much better in our communities that like we're proud to live in. That's to me what excites me. We're going to build better and give better, quality housing for people that need it.
Yeah, I love it, man. I think it's going to unlock so much opportunity for all of us. I think we just have to some extent, trust the process, right? We got to lean into it and learn. I think the people, obviously, that sit back and maybe are kind of apathetic about AI and fearful and not wanting to jump into it, they might have some challenges over time. But I truly believe if we lean into this with an open mind and figure out a way to apply it to solve problems, then it's going to enable us to do so much more. And especially in the built world, just like you're talking about, it's just to really solve the challenges and drive down construction prices and accelerate the process. And so, yeah, it's going to be super exciting, man. We're gonna have to make sure that we circle back like a year or two from now, and we'll listen to this, right, like over a beer or something, and then we'll go record a new one, and we'll see how we were.
You can make fun of me for how wrong I was, all right?
No, man. You and I are in the same boat. Well, kind of as we're kind of getting to the close, Patrick, a couple of questions I wanted to kind of ask you, just in general, kind of on the purpose side. So one thing that was going through my mind is that, again, I keep going back to this, like you've got this exposure of this really successful legacy family business, and yet you also are kind of leading this, extremely fast, forward-leaning company scaling at a really rapid rate. Like one of the things I'm just kind of generally curious about is like, are there things that you learned from the family business? Are there values, principles, things that you kind of live your life by that you learned from this like legacy business that you have been able to apply to, Toggle and your other AI companies, and, that other like founders and CEOs and SaaS executives might not have had the access to experience?
Integrity, right? Being honest, doing what's right, no matter what, even if it's not the easy decision, number one, which then obviously goes into clients first, right? Customers first. In construction, I think that's pretty important. Doing what's right, making those hard decisions to put them first. Same thing in technology, right? Learning, listening to the customer. That feedback is so important, especially in the early days, because that's so valuable. Learning, winning together, right? Raising the whole team. Continuing to up level, give the training, whether that's safety in construction or new trades or in a startup, right? There's constant learning that's needed. Giving that exposure, the ability for people to continue learning new tools, new trades that are needed. Hard work, dedication, attitude. Nothing is very little in construction is linear, right? Not every job is perfect and on time and on budget, right? There's things happen. Same thing in tech, right? It's such an up and down thing. And it happens very fast. So just keeping that positive attitude and making sure the team knows, hey, we're going to make it through this storm. Maybe you lose a big client, the tech breaks. I mean, whatever happens, sometimes out of your control. Keeping your head high, knowing there'll be better days ahead. That's I think a lot of parallels between the two.
Yeah, it shows your character too. It's we're kind of defined by how we handle the mistakes that we make, and it's funny. My wife oftentimes gives me a hard time. She's like, how when stuff goes wrong, it just doesn't seem to really bother you that much. And I'm like, I was in the construction industry for like 10 years, right? Like stuff happens all day, every day. So you kind of learn to roll with the punches and problem solve and get on to the next one with a positive attitude. And there's more issues coming around the thing. So awesome, man. I love that. Well, Patrick, I can't tell you how excited I am to have you hop on today. And you're doing awesome stuff with Toggle, and I can't wait to see what you guys do and your fire life safety organization, everything else you're doing, man. So I wish you the very best of luck, and I want to make sure you get you back on the podcast maybe in a year or so. And we'll do a little AI comparison with one another.
Sounds good, Chris. Thanks for the opportunity to be on, and good luck to you, and congrats on everything you've done as well.
All right, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for joining me on Built with Purpose. If you have enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It helps more bold leaders find the show. For resources and show notes, visit our website and connect with me, Chris Fay, on LinkedIn. Until next time, keep building great companies, cultures, and legacies with purpose.